Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank, and we have some fun comics to talk about today. We're gonna start with the end of Dark Crisis: Worlds Without a Justice League, Batman. So yeah, this has been a rather, I think it's like the worst series I've read for a while. Like this whole premise made no sense. So my understanding was we trapped members of the Justice League in a world they wouldn't want to escape. So what is this? What was this one? What have any of them been? Like the last one we saw with Green Arrow and Black Canary, they had perfect worlds until it turns out they just had to find each other, which made no sense to me. Could Pariah not create a world that had a Black Canary and a Green Arrow for them to fawn over? And now we have this one. So let's see the perfect world that Batman would never want to escape. So, in this perfect world, everything else is pot but the Dome City, which has been created by a man who calls himself Mr. Wax. All right, and it's the last city on Earth. So apparently, Batman's perfect world is a world where only clearly Gotham City exists. All right, messed up. And Mr. Mr. Wax has created this amazing city with this amazing machine that keeps everything going. Effectively, if you ever saw Power Rangers RPM. Is it RPM? Is it RPM? Yeah, RPM. The Dome City of Corinth. Pretty much what this is. And Mr. Wax is the elusive genius behind it. All right, wearing all white, wearing a mask. No one quite knows who he is. And his, I guess his assistants are Jason and Barbara. Weird choice, but it's that ship. It's that, yeah. So anyway, it turns out someone's been going around at night when the machine kind of goes off and goes attacking people. And this guy is called the Knight, or I'm sorry, as he's called in this scene here, the freaking Knight. Yeah, and he's looking for whoever killed his parents. And he goes to Penguin like, "You're the one who killed my parents." Like, "No, dude, I didn't kill your parents, but I kind of know who had a role in killing your parents." And yeah, wasn't me. So okay, so this is basically based off of Batman Earth 1. Okay, we need to stop going that route. All right. And so, everyone thinks that Mr. Wax is the Knight because, well, he wears a mask. And Mr. Wax just goes, "You know what? This mask is so, I don't have to, people don't recognize me when I go out to drink at bars." And this is all interrupted by the Knight capturing Mr. Wax. And, yeah, he's got some stuff to say. Like, he's been tracing a weird signal about who killed his parents. And, yeah, the reason he's doing this is because, well, the Knight and Mr. Wax have the same face. Bum, of Bruce Wayne. And I'm like, sounds kind of stupid. It could still work. So, because this would be, was a chance to dream from the animated series where Bruce Wayne wakes up in a world where he's married to Selena Kyle, his parents are alive, and there's still someone going around being Batman. It's like, the best of both worlds for him. But anyway, the Knight wants to figure out what's going on here, and then he introduces, he and Mr. Wax compare notes, all right? Like, let's talk about your life, let's talk about my life, why we looked a lot together, why we look alike, and, thought, but hey, yeah, my parents died in alley. I've been, dogging about trying to figure out who killed them. I've kind of decided not to do that. And just, try to build on something better, All right, so one of you is more healthy than the other, but one of you seems more stupid than the other. So, yeah, take for that what you will. So, anyway, the Knight has been tracing a signal using his red breasts. They're basically his little birds, his not robins. He's been taking criminals and performing surgery on basically lobotomizing them and whatnot to make it so they're his eyes and ears. And they've traced a signal to what is clearly supposed to be either Arkham Asylum or Wayne Manor. Perhaps a fusion of them both. Wayne Asylum, Arkham Manor. Arkham Manor is the thing. But anyway, there's a Joker's the guard dog, which to me is hilariously appropriate for whether it's Wayne Mansion or Arkham Asylum. It works out, and they are greeted by Alfred, who is wearing Mr. Freeze's helmet for some reason. He's also fed up with this story. He says, I'm so happy to see you both. And he explains what's going on. Alright, so this place used to be headed by Scarecrow. Scarecrow found the Joker, or some guy who was as crazy as the Joker, experimented on him using a bunch of other people's tech, whether it be Mad Hatters, Poison Ivy, whatnot. Just start messing with the dude, and that led to this horrible explosion and whatnot. And the original Bruce Wayne realized this was too much, and he split himself in two, scientifically speaking, using Clayface's, I guess, stuff. And so, one has all the grrr, and one has all the huh. So one is Wayne, which is to fade and, go off into the darkness, and Wax is to, enhance and whatnot. Okay. Stupid, but alright. I see what's going on here. And Alfred goes, yeah, I can't tell which one of you is the original Wayne or not. Doesn't matter. Also, you weren't supposed to find this out, because every time you do, everything starts to fall apart. So they both sort of like collapse, and Alfred has them taken to their respective places. And then, as if to make this even darker, Alfred says, well, we have to release another criminal for the night to go after. And Mr. Wax wakes up, at his lab, like, oh, okay, I don't know what happened. Let's just get back to work. And the Knight goes, Victor's ass killed my parents, because Victor's ass is on the loose. And I'm like, that's how the comic ends. So what we're finding out here is that Bruce's perfect world is a world where someone's fixing the one good city on the planet while he goes on a never-ending search for his parents' killer. How is this a world he doesn't want to leave? I guess the trick is it's a world he can't leave. In other words, somehow Batman would figure out, hey, this isn't a real world, so instead they keep giving him a new mystery to solve. Every time he solves it, they reset it. Why did we do that for Superman? Why did we do that for Wonder Woman? Like, what is going on here? None of this makes sense. Like, here's the thing. I get this story on, I get the story it's trying to tell. It's not badly written. It's just kind of stupid in some ways. I think the characters, Wax and Wayne, or Mr. Wax and the Knight, make a degree of sense, but at the same time, no. Like, so this is supposed, like, my understanding was this was all supposed to be a world where they don't want to escape. Superman gets to raise his son, Wonder Woman achieves a sense of world peace with the woman president, and the Amazons are clearly the ones in charge, but we don't want to say that part out loud. Aquaman's made peace with his rogues gallery, and he's making a really solid attempt to, usher in a new era of peace between land and sea. Alright, Green Lantern gets the best of both worlds. His little sister is alive, and, his wife isn't. But whatever. But none of this is happening. None of this perfect world happens. It all seems so terrible. The point is that you give them a world where they constantly have to keep doing something else. But even then, Superman realized, yeah, this isn't real. Like, I've been exposed to Black Mercy more times than anybody. I know when something feels too good. And this crafted world isn't even that great. Wonder Woman's just like, oh, there's a dark secret here. This can't be Themyscira. That's not how it works. Jon Stewart never realized the problem, so I don't know. Anyway, let's just stop complaining. All right, let's go to the next one. Nightwing, issue 98 is hilarious, and but at the same time, I kind of want to not read Nightwing anymore. It's featuring a new character called the Nite Mite, or I'm not sure if he's a new character, but it's the Nite Mite, and the Nite Mite is a great character because it proved that this wasn't Rick Grayson. So Dick Grayson's like, why are you here? You're like, no, it's not really me. Look, see, I'm just Nightwing. Look at me. He's like, it's not. No. The ponytail mullet was a bit much. He's like, no, okay, fine. I'm the Nite Mite. I'm your own fifth dimensional imp, like Batmite and Mr. Mixie's Pidalick. And he's also wondering why you're out here with Batgirl, making out and bumping uglies when you're supposed to be watching, a mob boss. And, Nightmire's like, oh, you're Batgirl! He's like, I actually ship Nightwing and Starfire, but, I guess if you make him happy, sure, whatever. And, first of all, Batgirl should know her place. She is never going to take the top spot from Starfire. Just it. So, whatever. Anyway, the reason it's going on here is that Batmite has some news for Nightwing. So a couple years back, Blockbuster made a deal with a dude named Necron, all right, for greater intelligence, which is actually a really stupid sounding wish. And part of the deal was when he got it, at some point he would have to give his soul away. Blockbuster, being the horrible garbage human being he is, offers the soul of his daughter. And Nite Mite's like, so, that's not fair. I'm going to have you fix it. And as a fifth dimensional imp, as a fifth dimensional being, he can't directly fix something. He can't directly change anything. He can, however, guide someone through. This is the problem all these great powerful beings do. Like, I can't actually do it, but I can send other people to do it, which almost sounds like, I hired someone, so it should reflect on me how this goes, but whatever. Nite Mite has his own merch line, so whatever. So fine, Nightwing agrees to do it. He's like, look, okay, so you can't actually stop them. They're demons. All you can do is send them back, and I'm going to power up your excrement sticks. But to really power them up, you got to say this special word, this special phrase. And it's kind of cute. It's kind of hilarious. And also he has help. Bitewing. In other words, Haley all grown up, and Haley can talk, and Haley's so happy that she can talk. It was like, you fed me, you saved me, thank you, I love you, and it's kind of sweet. And so yeah, this is actually, it's pretty straightforward from here. Nightwing goes in, Nightwing sees the demons, Nightwing says, hey, we're not doing this. And he says the phrase, Nightwing is awesome. And he banishes the demons. And he tells the little girl, don't be afraid. The little girl's like, I ain't afraid. And decks the demon. Because apparently, she black girl magic, Screw it, what do I know? And apparently the daughter of Blockbuster. So, that has some stuff there. So she helps out. And they call Raven, who like, oh, you have a fifth dimensional imp, Nightwing, hilarious. And, because she also has, talent of, avoiding demons and being, the daughter of a monster. Like, I can help you. I'm going to keep you safe from them. It's like, a whole process they're going to go through. And Nightwing gives some credit to, Nite Mite. Like, hey, Nite Mite also saved her. And she hugs Nite Mite. It's actually a really sweet, tender moment. And, yeah, it's kind of sweet. And Nite Mite mentioned, like, I'm your biggest fan, Nightwing. My name's Dixel, by the way. It's the easiest name to say, Dixel. And I'd like you to be Nightwing forever, but I think the best thing for you and for Bloodhay would be if you became the new Blockbuster. In other words, if you filled the vacuum that's been created by Blockbuster being removed from power. I'm like, okay, that's a fun story. Clearly, he knows something's going on as the comic ends, and primarily because the preview for the next one is Return of Tony Zuko, a.k.a. the guy that was responsible for the death of Nightwing's parents. That's how. So, yeah. So anyway, Nightwing issue 98 is fun. That's kind of the only really thing to say about it. It's nice to find out that he has his own fifth dimensional imp, puts him on line with characters like Superman and Batman. Also, Batmite seems to just be a legitimate fan with no real ulterior motives. Would he be voiced by? Who would he be voiced by? No. Elton John. I want Elton John to voice the Nite Mite. But, yeah, overall, I think this was fun. One second. It was really fun, unlike what I just drank. And, this is a fun little nothing issue. Its sole purpose really felt like, hey, this is a fun idea Tom Taylor had, and he wanted to see what he could do with it. And Nite Mite comes and sets up a story for something else, so who knows? I think the next story will decide whether or not I want to keep reading Nightwing. So let's see. Next month is issue 99, January issue 100. I think the Tony Zuko thing will probably be a bigger issue story. They still haven't resolved Heartstealer, so I have no idea what's going to happen with that one. But anyway. Let's move on to the next one. Next up is Dark Crisis Young Justice issue 6. So we're finally at the end of this, and this was... I think I've been the nicest to Megan Fitzmartin over this entire thing, but even she's kind of pushed my limits here. So let's delve into it. Last we left off, all of the Young Justice was together, and they're engaging Mickey Mix's Pitlick. All right? So, this story really just kind of is an unnecessary resolution, just getting more negative. So, Tim Drake gets all big and mild, like, you can't stop young... Mickey, sews his mouth shut. And, yeah, it's kind of weird. So, Cassie's trying to buy time because earlier, Bart came up and said, hey, I have a plan, and I need your help. You need to buy time while I go get ready for it. And he sort of apologizes for sort of how we treated her back in the day. That's weird. He treated her like a third wheel. Like, we all treat you badly, Cassie. But you were more than just, You're more than just the three of us put together. You're so much more than us. Like, was this necessary? Is this because Cassie didn't really get her own time in that own little perfect world? All right, weird. Okay, but anyway, Bart has a plan. He's going to create an what was it? A particle chamber, a particle loop. In other words, trapping Mickey in the space between atoms. And this idea seems kind of alright, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, nothing about this final story feels like it fits. Even when Cassie, like, talks to Mickey's Mixed Pillock about what's going on here, like, she's sort of fed up with him. Like, you're a child, breaking the world, making the world in your image because you don't like what's happened. And he points out, at least I gave you a world where you can kind of be happy. Like, even he points out that in the worlds without the Justice League just got screwed over with a stupid world no one wanted to be in. But he also points out, oh, by the way, the League's not dead, and things getting bad out there. Like, what? What do you mean things getting bad out there? They have no idea what's going on. And, yeah, it's weird. And then Mickey goes, like, it doesn't matter why I'm doing this, because, she's a girl after all. She's only ever brought those three down. So this has really only been about those three, and honestly, if you look back at this story, that's kind of the honest truth. This entire story has been about Bart, Tim, and Connor, and sort of how they were Young Justice. But at the same time, Cassie's been the one that she started the story off. She's the one that set up all these relationships. In other words, if you weren't familiar with Young Justice, she's the one that got you into this. So it's a weird choice that she was in the background this whole time. Especially when she was one who really wanted to get the team back together in some form, that these two aren't the dark reflections of each other. I don't know. It's weird, and this story really is about just making Cassie important, and at the same time making everyone apologize to Cassie. Like, so when the whole thing starts to go to pot, and Connor starts to disappear, he starts to remember his relationship with Cassie, that, he probably wasn't the best boyfriend for her, and, he died, and, it's just, I don't get any of this from like, what was this book for? Because ultimately, this book doesn't endear you to want to read Young Justice. It just wants, I don't know. But Connor apologizes while he's invisible, but Cassie can see him, and he's like, hey, it's okay, we are who we are. Oh, Tim was turned into a tree, Cassie's turned to stone, Red Tornado turned into a human. Yeah, this is just all over the place. Mickey doesn't care, and Bart's able to get Mickey to turn them all back to their normal selves, which enables the quantum loop thing to be able to be used properly, and they trap him in there, boop, boop, ba-doop. And then Tim apologizes to Cassie. Hey, remember that time we dated after Connor died? And yeah, I was a bad boyfriend. Turns out maybe it was just too late. It wasn't the right time for us, and I was just trying to deal with the loss of my best friend. And I kind of unceremoniously broke up with you. It all just feels kind of, if you don't know this history, you're kind of at a loss. And ultimately, that isn't Fitzmartin's fault, but it is her fault in terms of how she handled this story. But anyway, Mickey is trapped in that loop. Everyone's cool with each other to an extent. So they're all going to go help the Justice League. And, yeah. So Megan Fitzmartin had a good idea, I think. I think, a story with Young Justice coming together again, and maybe having a critique about the team that, things weren't always that great, would have been a great idea for something like, say, Heroes in Crisis. The idea that, hey, there were some problems we had. We never really got to resolve them. Let's hash them out now with what was going on in that era. The problem is, this is never quite addressed. So Tim, Bart, and Con... So here's the thing. These 6 characters on this cover have mostly been forgotten by DC Comics. That is fundamentally true. So out of the 6 here, these 6 characters really had nothing going for them in New 52. So Cassie, Tim, and Connor, to some extent, were on Teen Titans, because New 52 rebooted it so that only Tim was on the Teen Titans. As a matter of fact, they were the only Teen Titans, and then they canceled that and then brought up another Teen Titan. It was weird. It was weird. All that mattered was that Tim was on the Teen Titans. Bart, as far as I recall, was nowhere to be found. No one knew what to do with Cassie. Was she part of Wonder Woman's team? Was she not? Red Tornado was gone, and by default, Sissy didn't even exist. So, yeah, it's kind of sad to see this story, which had a valid complaint, I think, that, you were forgotten and you've been replaced. I think there was a good scene in this story, it was just last issue, and said like, yeah, it sucks to an extent, but what we did didn't matter. Doesn't matter even less. What we did doesn't matter any less than these guys. They have they're their own heroes, their own personalities. They didn't replace us. What they did was they took a new space in the DC universe. We were still great teams. We were still heroes. These new heroes can't take that away from us, and that's fine. That is a great little bit of closure for these characters. Like, yeah, time has moved on, but we're still heroes. We still matter. There are people that still love us. So I think that was great. But then we focused so much on Mickey and Cassie being super important that I think the story falls apart even more. It's already been super ham-fisted to the point where we're just wholly critiquing the past Young Justice era. And now here we are with Mickey being a perfect example of a fifth dimensional imp, a dimension of pure imagination. We see a toxic fan that I don't really think exists. I think it's a fan that has to be made. In other words, there were plenty of fans who were wondering, hey, where's Young Justice? Why is Tim Drake getting the shaft so much? Why does Nightwing have a book? Why does Jason have a book? Why does Damian have a book? Where's Tim? Where's Tim? Why is Donna Troy getting her own little arc in New 52's Wonder Woman, but no one has any real idea what to do with Cassie? Why does Superman have a son when Connor got killed off? These are all good questions. They're all important questions for the fans of those characters. And then to come back and say, well, the problem was the era. The era wasn't that good. You can say it didn't sell that well, but say it wasn't that good. Like, no, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. And then to go in and just sort of use Mickey as a representation of the fan base, like all of a sudden they hate Cassie. I'm like, I don't think that's fair. But whatever. Overall, this story's over. Fitzmartin, I think, might be better suited for non-team books. I think she might be better suited for one-character stories. I'm trying to think of what I like. She wrote a fun little Zatanna one-shot that I liked. But, and if, I'll tell you what, like I said, if that Tim Drake book of hers changes art, I'll pick up the rest of the issues and get caught up. But overall, until that's figured out, no, we just can't. We just can't. And finally, as if to palate cleanse this, we have One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze, Gary Dugan. This story was actually really fun. Alright, also very depressing, as is most Mr. Freeze stories. So, this story opens up with a flashback of a time before it all went to pot. Victor and his wife went to a party with some friends from work, and she points out, hey, had I known you were just going to stay in, I wouldn't have gotten 2 tickets, she probably wouldn't have gotten the tickets to begin with, but, you didn't want to go. I didn't want them to go to waste. So, yeah, it sort of speaks to the nature of their relationship right now, and she's starting to cough. So, in other words, her illness is starting to come up, and Victor asks the question, are you seeing someone? It's a very loaded question. It's a very up-in-the-air question. What he meant to say, are you seeing someone for her throat, for her cough? And she's like, it's fine, it's nothing. And Victor asks, hey, should I invite your friends in? And she goes, they used to be our friends. So in other words, Victor has all of a sudden become so obsessed with his work that he's cutting people out. But, Nora wants to still, go out and enjoy life. And she wants Victor with her, but she's not going to force him to. And so now he's feeling a bit dejected, a bit jaded, and possibly it's creating a strain on their marriage, effectively. And so then we cut to the present. I love the name of the story, The Darkest Winter. Love it. Keep going. So anyway, we now pick up to quote-unquote present day. This entire story is in the past. That's Dick Grayson as Robin. Love it. So, they have a discussion about villains. Can villains really change? Are any of them beyond saving? And it's Christmas time. Alfred has taken the preserved Starro to be the star on the Christmas tree, and as Bruce is getting ready to suit up to match his Malone, they pose the question, is there any villain out there that you think isn't beyond redemption? And he says, Freeze. Because Victor isn't a bad guy in the same sense, like, say, Joker or Mad Hatter. He's someone whose primary goal is trying to save his wife, and in his attempts to save his wife, he's, things have gone horrible for him, but that's always been his primary goal. That one moment, that one bad moment is what defines him, and if we can get him past that, he'd be an entirely different person. So, okay, that's fair. That's fair. So anyway, Matches goes in undercover, tries to figure out where Freeze is, And, being Matches Malone, he's able to figure out, hey, this dude's like, hey, my wife is helping out Freeze. I think Bruce is like, what do you mean your wife is helping Freeze? She really likes cold, and she goes under the alias Frostbite. But anyway, Freeze stops the truck, dealing with, some cryogenic stuff. And this has all been a ploy by Batman and Robin, because what they have planned is, well, they've taken all of Victor's data, all of his research, and there's been a whole lot of new developments medically onto Nora's condition. So they've brought this lab, they brought all the material, all of his research, so he can further his research on curing Nora. Because, hey, if we get you that, you should be good to go, all right? We can end all of this. You can become the kind of man you were supposed to be. And this is kind of interesting because, as we'll see, the kind of man Victor really is, or the kind of man he's become since the incident, may not be who we think he is. So, turns out it's slow going. There's no real research. There's no real progress. And he gets a flashback to, his last few moments with Nora, how possessive he was of her. He would not let her go. He wouldn't even let their friends see her, and would tell Nora, like, there's just nurses, that we don't need them right now. And it's super dark. That, like, I love how they've just sort of removed Victor's eyes. The further you go down, it's just his glasses now, so he looks more like Mr. Freeze. But at the same time, there's this tragedy here. Like, the scene here when just lying in bed with her is great. Like, he's like, don't go, I'm gonna hold on to you forever. But then he's just like, no one else can see her, she's mine. And it's possessive, it's borderline abusive, but she has no idea, because even she's like, I was hoping my friends would show up. So when Victor finds out it's not working, he torches the lab, walks out going, yeah, intense. And Batman then goes on his own research, talking to David Lochner, one of Nora's old friends from back in the day, and he talks about how obscene it was that happened to her, and about how possessive Victor was. That, before she got sick, Victor was her first disease. He wouldn't even let her see her. He wouldn't, he wouldn't let her see her, and she's been robbed of a dignified end. Considering her living will, which I think she had a DNR. They do not resuscitate that. If she was too far gone, to let her go. And apparently Victor's not respecting that, which, to be okay, it's no win situation with that one, but whatever. So Bruce realizes something else is going on here, so he says, like, we gotta go. He didn't want to take Dick, but Dick's like, am I your partner, am I not? Like, fine, but you gotta stay behind me, this is gonna be intense. So Bruce dons his new experimental I'm fighting Mr. Freeze specifically armor, aka a lot of fire, a lot of heat, and it goes down to a conversation about Freeze and his relationship with Nora, alright? And he points out, did you even try to get her out of the ice? Like, that's a good question. Like, are you really trying to get her out of there? The sort of dark reality that maybe Victor doesn't want to save her. All right? And he points out the day that she was diagnosed was the worst day of his life. And he points out that, you've kept her locked up here. You're not respecting her wishes. If she really wanted to go, you should have let her go by now. He won't even let Dick Grayson, Robin look at her. Like, don't you look at her. And it sort of escalates even further. Like, Nora loved nature. He wants to create more animals, freeze more for her. And Robin goes, I can't believe we thought you could change. And he points out that, I'll let you on a little secret. Do you want to know what my life is? That he likes the way his life is now. Because his life doesn't change now. All right? The way he is now, he enjoys their relationship now because they don't fight anymore. She's not out spending his money. She's not out going with whoever and doing whatever. He doesn't have to wonder when she'll be home. All the time, she's right here, right where he wants her. And it's just, this is just so sick and twisted. But at the same time, you just sort of get the feeling that their marriage hit a spot that they could have fixed. But because Victor is unwilling to deal with it, he'd rather just leave her frozen like that. And then when Dick says, this is a waste of a brain like yours, this is what your brain was supposed to be used for, it clicks with Victor because Nora said the same thing to him the day he took her from the hospital to freeze her, that this isn't what his brain was made for. And it leads to him breaking down. And it's sad. It's sad that he didn't, as Bruce points out, you didn't want to share her. You didn't want to share with the world ever. You put her in the ice so that he could keep her. It's a really sad moment when we think of the kind of person Victor has become. He does not like the idea of sharing. He's so possessive that even the idea of her going out upsets him. And the thing is, they both had moved like this different point in their lives. Victor with his research, Nora wanting to sort of, enjoy life. And at that point, he's like, he didn't like that. And so instead of like resolving those issues as two reasonable adults who were married, he doubled down, and the sickness gave him an opportunity to make it so that he didn't have to change. So anyway, they all take care of it. Victor has this come to Jesus moment, like, yeah, you know what? I have been a dick. I have been terrible. I need to change. So I'll tell you what. You can do what you feel is best for Nora, honor her wishes. But I'm gonna tell you something, Robin. All right. And so anyway, Christmas Day comes and goes. Victor's on his way to prison. He's actually going to Blackgate, so that's great. And so what he whispered to Robin was a way to properly cryogenically store medicine and vaccines, so that way they can get to anywhere across the planet. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's Victor's legacy. That's how Victor is going to end his time. And the comic ends with Victor hearing about how his breakthrough is going around and saving lives, and he laughs and makes us no angel as the comic ends. So ultimately, Batman One Bad Day, Mr. Freeze is the best book here so far, alright? Dark Crisis Young Justice worked my nerves from the get-go. Nightwing 98 was just sort of like, it was like, oh, okay, a little fun story. Worlds of the Justice League Batman was... yeah. But Mr. Freeze once again shows how a tragic villain is one of the best villains, especially when this story doesn't make him just tragic. It makes him an ass, makes him just partially responsible to some degree for what's happened in his life. It's not this happened to me and I had no power and woe is me. Like, no. I did not have the best marriage. I did not want to try to make it better. And, I decided to be a dick and freeze my wife. So, yeah, great. So this makes out of 4 One Bad Day stories. 2 good ones, 2 bad ones. So, is this better than Penguin? First of all, no. Oswald's coming up from nowhere was better, but I think this one was more consistent because it didn't rely on Batman being sort of overthrown. But I think, again, the question is, what does One Bad Day mean? Clearly, just like the World Without a Justice League, it's up to interpretation by the reader. Is it one bad day for Batman created by the villain, or is it the one bad day / moment that defines these characters? Because I'm trying to figure out what happened for Two-Face if it's the latter. I'm trying to figure out if it's the former for Penguin. So I don't know. It does both in Riddler. So points to Riddler for that one. Overall, though, a lot of books. 1 good one. 1 really good one overall. 1 decent one. 2, at least they're over. And, so anyway, with that in mind, let's bring this video to close. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out some other videos, and I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.